Are you wondering how you can contribute to Funniest Thing?
Don't flip out. Go to patreon.com/funniest thing.
Whoa!
Oh!
That would have been crazy. Are you ready for a revolution in your thinking?
We are.
That's right. Welcome to Funniest Thing. I'm Darrell.
I am Ed. Today's show is called Thank Your Way Out with Glenn and Sarah Brewster. Thank your way out. If you want to start turning your life around, just start proclaiming thank you. We can literally thank our way out of anything and get our thinking going in the right direction, the direction we want to go. Simply repeating the words thank you will bring you into harmonious relations with the good in everything, and the good in everything will move toward you. On this episode, Darrell and Ed emphasize the prospering power of utilizing this simple prayer. And during the second segment, the merry thanksters, Glenn and Sarah Brewster, all the way from Alameda, California, come in to tune us into the good we desire with today's reading, which is grateful.
Oh, and today's episode came out after last week's show, the title, when we were hanging out with CHOBO.
Yeah, let's thank CHOBO right now. Indy, that is, at CHOBO Studios. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing amazing. It's a great day, and hopefully my mic doesn't cut out again.
Now, you said something quite genius, meaning genuine, when we were together.
People don't realize that genius just means being genuine.
I know. Well.
What did I
You
say?
said praying should be called thanking.
Yes.
Not
100%.
thinking, thanking.
Thanking.
What did you mean by that, big buddy?
Well, you guys have kind of mentioned this on in passing before, but you should. Doesn't the Bible say you got to thank for what you're praying for, like as if you've already received it,
Right.
rather than going like, "Please give me this thing I don't have."
Right.
So that's that.
There you go. But it was genius because we always like to reframe things, as people call it, or just come up with a new word that has more oomph, because if praying can mean a whole bunch of things, but if you really think about praying as thanking, it changes a lot of things. I mean, I'm excited about the show. I've been making strides in terms of my relationship with my current teaching job, which just started, and it's brought up a whole bunch of crap, but with the help of everyone, going back into, I'm looking forward to continually moving my mind back into the thanking mode, because that really is the way out. So that's why today's show is called Thank Your Way Out. Too often we get caught up in wrangling with things, and we inadvertently magnify the problem.
That's right. You do not have to figure your way out. If you just start affirming thank you. I was talking with somebody this week, trying to convince them that simple solutions are the best.
Ah, yes.
Some people don't enjoy that.
Oh, yes.
Including ourselves every
My
once
own
in a while.
brain does it. We're just more likely to play along because we've been through the rodeo enough times.
But now I'm like, okay, I'll do anything. If you got something simple, lay it on me. So I was suggesting that he try. I said, listen, man, because he goes, I'm doing terrible. I'm crashing and burning. I said, so what are you doing? Number one, did you do a morning routine? What do you think the answer was? Okay, yes. So he didn't do his morning routine yet, and I gently let him know. I go, well, you might want to consider doing that, as a routine.
Yeah.
Because it really does have a significant effect on your attitude throughout the day. And if what is attitude? Attitude is just our mental approach to life.
Mm-hmm.
It could be good or bad. So, I shared simply how I do that. But I go, well, what are you doing now? I'm just walking around saying, God, God, God. I said, why don't you try this? Because this was after Saturday when we talked about prayer is thanking. Indy talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sunday we talked, the show should be thank your way out.
Right.
If you say pray your way out, people go, oh, please, God, but thank your way out. So we were like, wow, that's good. So by the time I talked with this guy on Tuesday, I had already started just walking around, similar to the yes prayer that we recommend.
Yeah.
Only I just said, you know what? I'm just going to do thank you because I really wanted to blast my head out of.
Yeah.
It wasn't going in the direction. It wasn't taking me in the direction I wanted to go. And I could tell because of how rotten I was feeling. So I just started going, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't want to thank you. And you know what? It is remarkable. And I explained it to him like this. I said, two things because he's kind of intellectual.
Yeah.
So you have to meet people where they are. You can't twist anyone's arm. You can't enforce gratitude.
Right.
But I can encourage it the best way I can. And that's what you and I try to do with the show because we're the same way. And like you said at the beginning of the show, sometimes hearing it described from a different viewpoint opens my mind to enlightenment. It enlightens my brain like, holy cow, yeah.
Yes.
So I said, listen, I go, William James, he's the father of American psychology. Oh, yes, the father of American psychology. I go, great. I go, do you know what he said? The biggest, and I think we mentioned this on last week's show, but it's worth repeating. If I didn't, you'll hear it for the first time. Sometimes Ed and I have conversations during the week and we think that's what happened on the show.
True.
Sometimes we say things on the show and forget we said them.
Mm-hmm.
But William James said the best discovery of the century, and he became the head of Harvard University, so he was well respected. He said is this: thought, emotion, action. Thought creates emotion, emotion propels action. But the second part is the best part. Action can change the emotion, which can change the thinking pattern.
Mm.
So I said this to him, and I said, so I've been just saying thank you, thank you, thank you, because that's the action. And rather than get into spiritual discussions with him, because, you could feel if there might be a wall. But the great news is, folks, all of it's now, like, it corresponds perfectly to scientific and psychological discoveries. I mean, we're living in a century where one's proving the other over and over. So I was able to tell him that it immediately starts to change my mood and then change my train of thought. And I said, because buried in my subconscious mind, ever since I was a small child, whenever we said thank you, it was we've received something we love. I mean, we never said thank you,
right?
For punishment. So what happens is I told him, I said, my subconscious mind doesn't fight with that word. It accepts it, and then it starts moving my emotions. Or, ooh, this is good stuff. And then my present circumstances start to correspond with my new mood and the train of thought that's now starting to take hold. The great news is, so he said he was going to do it. I have no idea if he has. I can guarantee you this, if he has done it, he's going to share with me how wonderful it worked.
Yeah.
Because Ed and I both know it goes even beyond that. Because the greatest truth is that spiritually and metaphysically and even philosophically, according to Einstein, that everything's vibration, everything's energy.
Mm.
Once my mind starts moving into this thanking, it's as if it already has received things I'm not even conscious of. It takes the burden out of scheming and trying to piece together what I would like for myself.
Yes.
By just saying thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And miraculous things started happening this week for myself, just from doing that.
Yeah.
And even you on Monday, because unbeknownst to you in my notes, I just want to show you this. Remember Monday, you had a great revelation?
Yeah.
What was the date on Monday? Does anyone know? Oh. Anyway, on Monday, my to-do list.
I think it was the 28th.
Okay. On Monday, one of the things on my list was praise Ed's head.
Nice.
And then I wrote, yesterday's unexpected and unplanned blessings. And I included what you told me and how your whole attitude started moving in a healthier direction. You even took some amazing
That's true.
positive footwork this week.
Yeah, because what I was talking to my wife, and I think part of thinking my way out. Actually, I learned a lot from talking to my wife and having this conversation, and because I've had a lot of inner angst about my job for a really, really long time, and I just haven't really known what to do about it, or I don't know. It's just been a process, for whatever reason. Ignoring it, but also like going, well, I'm blessing a lot of people. I've gotten a lot out of it. I'm in a new place in my life as a result. But for the first time, I think calmly, I just said to my wife, I just don't want to teach anymore. I don't want to teach anymore. And because I wasn't wrestling with it, I just said, I just don't want to teach anymore. And then she said, you know what? That is powerful. Say that again. I just don't want to teach anymore. And then I told it to Darrell, and then he got on fire. And he was very reassuring too, because my mind, I have a crazy, overly analytical mind at times that tries to take spirituality and like overly precisely. And this happens in a lot of, especially in like science of mind and other thought-based practices that focus on thinking, where we start to like overly stress the specifics of what we're thinking and not realizing
what we're saying
and exactly how we're saying, and thinking that is like magic words, it's making it happen. I might be misunderstood, but God already knows the whatever our hearts desire. I mean, that's in the Bible. Whatever, that's just spiritual principle. Whatever we really desire, the universe is already. Abraham Hicks talks about this. The universe, source energy, is already responded to. We've already asked. The asking just happens naturally as soon as we get clearer on what we want. So I told Darrell about that, and at that very moment, we could talk about two different things. One, we got an email from Mark Hicks.
Oh my God. You should say the first thing though, because I only said this to you because I know my own mind. And this is how we could be helpful to each other.
Yeah.
Because Ed said that and it felt so good. I felt high.
Oh yeah. Though you mean what you actually said, I didn't even say it. Yeah, go ahead.
No, but what you said, you know what? I just don't want to teach anymore. I felt like I felt a relief. Like it was like, wow, this is Ed's true self. Felt so good. But then I could tell where my mind would go, oh no, but I don't want to, like, what does this mean?
Never teach anymore.
Never teach. Does this mean I won't be doing our show? I don't want to curse myself.
Right.
So I immediately telling myself, like affirming myself out of that. I was still on the phone with Ed. I said, no, Ed, don't worry about saying that. God knows what you mean by that.
Yeah.
God knows exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and several things. We got several emails. One email is from Leslie Laird, who said, and I want to thank you, Leslie, out there, said, Ed, your enthusiasm on funniest thing here as of late is simply infectious.
And this all came after this thing. This is the incredible part.
She said, it's like watching the caterpillar metamorphism into a beautiful butterfly. You go, big guy. Your guardian angels are all around you. And then I had emailed her. She said my response made her day. Fantastic. That happened. And then he saw an email from Mark Hicks.
This is just less than 2.5 hours after Ed told me that. I look on my email, and it was an email from Mark Hicks. And we talk about it. If you don't know who Mark Hicks is, we talk often or occasionally about truthunity.net. It is the best resource for all the high-powered, kick-you-upstairs spiritual readings, audio, video, no charge. It's just there, freely given, and it really is the good stuff. And links to how to find the stuff if he doesn't have it on the site, which most likely he does. So right after that, I get an email. And I thought maybe it was to the funniest thing with Darrell and Ed, because all my emails go to the same spot.
Right.
I coordinated them.
Right.
So I thought maybe this is to Darrell and Ed. I thought it was just a flyer. Like he was letting us know they're doing a event in November from the 3rd to the 5th, that weekend.
At Unity Village.
Yeah, Charles Fillmore event. But Mark Hicks, if you don't already know, he's in tune with how the two of us talk. He he's like Kathy Norman, Nancy Norman, David McClure, like practical use of this stuff.
Yes.
In everyday life, like the real.
Yeah, truthunity.net is an amazing resource, and it's pure giving.
Yeah.
It's pure spreading the word so that it can bless other people, just the way the Fillmores and all the original unity and metaphysical teachers used to do it. It's just, we're so excited about this. We want to get this out there and make it accessible.
Yes.
We don't even want to make there's no hoops you have to jump through to get to the information. It's just right there for you, and it's made for the person enjoying it and benefiting from it to have a good experience because it's so easy.
Yes.
There's no emails that you have to.
No.
Yeah. So he's just an amazing guy. Actually, he's the reason why there's a page on truthunity.net for Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed.
Yeah, which is
as
an
truth
honor.
teachers, which is amazing.
So he sent this, and it looked like a flyer, and because it was coming from Mark Hicks, I'm looking through it, but it didn't have like all the speakers yet. And I just thought he was letting us know about this event. And I saw it was only $99 for the weekend. I go, this might be a great excuse for the two of us to go to Unity Village as audience members. I was thinking as just to be part of it. Well,
also we got to frame it because if you listen to last week's episode, I mentioned going to Unity Village.
Yes.
Like we talked about like 3 or 4 different times, and I was driving on the night before last week's show, which would have been Friday night, and I had this like good feeling of being at Unity Village. And then Darrell and I talked, and I was like saying, but I don't want to go because when we used to go, we went as talent from the radio station, and we just had free reign of the place, especially with Darrell. We're opening doors. Everywhere we go, we find people who love the show. We were in every chapel. Tom Thorpe showed us the ins and outs of the place.
People would hear us talking in the hallway, and they'd come out of their office and go, wait, Darrell and Ed? And we go, yeah. Oh, my God, I recognized your voices. I listen to your show all the time. It was incredible.
Yeah, and the other thing that happened on the show, I started talking about Charles Fillmore, and I started getting choked up on the show because I was saying how much he's been coming through me. So the event that Mark Hicks was asking for speakers for.
Well, we didn't even know this.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't even get to the good part.
The event that he was advertising was a Charles Fillmore take on the Bible.
Yeah, metaphysical
interpretation of the Bible. So that's what this whole speaking event was about.
So I was like, this is great. A weekend. We could stay at the hotel, only $99. And then the price of the hotel, why not? Well, then I read it further. I was so like not aware of what it was, and I'm reading through, and at the bottom it says, if you're interested in speaking or whatever, click this. So I go, Ed, maybe we should throw our hat in, see if if we're even if he'd even consider us. Well, Ed sends it in on behalf of both of us.
Yeah, because I even just came up with the topics immediately mine was spiritualization of your consciousness, which is what I've been talking about a lot because there's that phrase that Charles Fillmore used. For me, that's the perfect description of when I switch into this unity perspective, this truth perspective, this healthy, inspired, thank you perspective. I feel like my consciousness becomes spiritualized. It plugs into spirit. And then Darrell was like, I don't know, what should I do? And I said, you got to do joy is the strength of the Lord. And he was like, I was thinking joy, but I was thinking
joy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, Ed sends those in. And then I decide to finally read the subject line of the email. I never even read the subject line. Mark Hicks actually was sending each one of us individually. It was to my personal email and Ed's. Wondering, the whole thing was he was asking if we would want to participate. He was already inviting us.
Yes, there's an invitation for speakers.
So we'll be there speaking Saturday morning is Darrell, and then Saturday afternoon is Ed.
And if he picked some great goofy pictures off the internet for
oh my God.
My wife said we got to leave them in there because they're the most interesting ones in the bunch.
Because they're not headshots. They're just us.
Something he found on Facebook or something. I'm going like,
and it's like me falling out of a car laughing. I mean, it just makes no sense. But that's what makes all the sense. So that happened.
Yeah.
That happened immediately after, like reassuring Ed, no, I understand your prayer. Yeah, you just want to teach the way you like teaching.
Yeah.
And you don't want to teach the way you don't like teaching. Then we get an email. Ed goes, wait a minute, did you see this email from this lady, Susan?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, Susan, yeah, from some gallery?
Yeah.
And you've been talking about getting your art out there. I look, and it was a lady who I showed with up in Pacific Grove.
Yeah, which is where
Monterey and Carmel.
Yeah.
It's all in that little cluster there with Pebble Beach. So, and this was like 1993 or so.
When you showed up there.
Yeah. So it was a long time. So I responded. I said, oh, are you still up north? What's going on? She goes, no, I'm in England now. And in the meantime, she discovered we have a podcast.
Yeah.
And she said, oh my God, I love your podcast, by the way. This is right up my alley. So I asked, are you near Leeds? Because I thought Miranda.
Yeah, we looked at it. Yeah.
And she said, no.
Oh, right.
She said, no, I'm actually in this spot. And that's when Ed looked it up and said, that's right near Devon. So I said, wait a minute. Are you near Devon or the Schumacher College?
Yes.
She's right down. She goes, it's right down the block. The Schumacher College is where Satish he's the director of.
It's incredible.
And I told her, I said, he was just a guest on the show. And Grace Dethridge, she's an administrator there.
Yeah.
So it was like we were getting hit with all these coincidences. And we were both like, just thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say too, you combine, because you talked about the yes walk before, when your left foot hits the ground. Yes. And then, so this is a thank you version. Thank you. So I was thinking about, in terms of William James, you're combining action and thought.
Yes.
You're combining the action, which is moving your body, and you're hitting it from both sides. And I think, because I did a little thank you jog yesterday. I mean, because the other thing, I've been under the weather on and off twice in 2 weeks since school started. So I've been listening to this book that I got called Trust Your Vibes. Sonia Choquette, this Hay House thing. She was giving this book away free. You can still get it on her website, Sonia Choquette, Trust Your Vibes. And I just want to hear something simple about that, which is trust your intuition, trust the way you're feeling. And I was on my way over here. It's all about, she's like, your brain can lie and think but your body is always telling you what's really going on in your consciousness. And man, I've had this terror that's like associated with this job. But when I talk about it out loud and let it have a voice, it turns into the excitement, because I'm just so tired of not doing what my spirit really wants me to be doing. It's like, I don't want to leave this school just because it's too much work for me, which is what my judgmental brain tells me. I have real reasons why what's going on there is not healthy, and it's not the best for me, for the people I'm working with, or for the students involved, or anyone, the parents.
Yeah.
And I made a commitment to myself when I was like 20. When I started singing in a band and like writing my own lyrics, I was like, I got to be true to myself.
Yes.
I can't be that schmuck who's like, and now, I am a bit of that schmuck because I like the money, man. I'm getting paid more now than I ever have. I've enjoyed the time off and stuff. But now it's just come to a point where my son is getting ready to graduate from college, and he's in a great place. It's like a perfect another time where the universe is like, stop hemming and hawing about that. I want to say, look, we always go super over. We can go super over with Glenn and but let me thank Rod. Mugshots. Rod's cold brew is in this mug right here. Rod Schweitzer is our friend, guest, actor, amazing guy. He's also a slinger of cold brew and kombucha. What are we drinking today? Some Stumptown?
Today we're drinking delicious Stumptown.
Oh, it's delicious. And then I know you milked some oat plants to get me some oat milk
He
today.
also he was generously donated delicious high-end oat milk.
Oh, that's from Rod also.
That's also from Rod.
Sucking from the teat of Rod Schweitzer. Thank you, buddy. And also, this is a UC Berkeley dad mug I'm drinking out of today.
Well, I want to say something to our listeners.
Is it about pet goats and pap smears?
We got some great mail.
Okay, what is it?
I just want you to consider just trying this, even if you're reluctant and think, it's kind of silly.
Yeah.
But silly, like Florence Scovel Shin drives home, is the best way to get silly, doing silly, saying sillier affirmations or rhyming affirmations or what you're conscious mind or what you seem is reasonably, your reasoning mind says, that's silly.
Yeah.
Try doing thank you. If you're feeling hung up in traffic, and don't associate with things, because then it's like arm wrestling. Like, thank you for this traffic. That's not going to work.
Oh,
I don't.
yeah.
Don't. Yeah. So thank you for this line in it. No, that won't work because you're still fighting.
Yes.
You're resisting. That's happening, but you're just going to go, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and you're going to be amazed. I guarantee you, I'm not going to go into it because we got our guests coming, but
dude, what you just said though is the breaths. Should we give them?
We're going to do the breaths. We could talk about the calendar later.
Yeah, because you can even bring the calendar out when they come
because these breaths are.
Why don't you do the first one?
Yeah, because these breaths came up while I was doing the thank you. Because me and my brother, when we were younger, this song was on. So somehow it just got drilled into our brains.
It's by the BT Express.
Yeah, I would have never known that.
Me neither.
They just got lopped in with Kool and the Gang. And Who's the Funkadelics and all that stuff. They were all one. But here we go. So this is compliments to them.
So this is something, the reason I said, because you almost sounded like you were singing it.
I know, that's how it got in my brain.
Yeah, and it's a good way to override the rational, because song just lifts the spirits. And if you sing something like this, forget it.
You could sing your way.
This is really like chanting, like Buddhist monks chant.
Oh.
Hindu, they chant, and priests chant. It's like, it's something that just lifts the spirits, gets you out of the rational mind.
Yes.
And before you know it, before you know it, you're feeling
everything
good.
shifts.
You're on that BT Express, baby.
Yeah, and your circumstances will improve. Here, you might want to stop that. Okay. So, and remember what the other guy does.
Mm-hmm. What is it? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
So here we go. Take a nice cleansing breath. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now I'm satisfied.
Whatever it is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now I'm satisfied.
Whatever it is. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'm satisfied. Whatever it is. Yes.
Oh, man, I feel good.
You know what?
Yes,
Eric
read
Butterworth says.
Yeah, we'll read this.
We'll do a little mail and get on to the our guests. We're trying to beat that 45-minute mark that Andy told me about. Here we go.
We got 5 minutes left.
We're only 28 minutes in.
Oh yeah, when the actual show started though, Andy. That.
Oh yeah, I started a little early.
Yeah. Okay. So the fact is that the happy life is. This is Eric Butterworth. Celebrate yourself.
Yes.
Celebrate yourself, fool. He was the original of Mr. T. Mr. Butter. He's the BT Express, Butterworth. So he said, the fact is the happy life is one that is in tune with the inner flow. When you are inwardly centered, you are happy. And it's funny, this thank you actually attunes us to our real self.
It's a tuning fork.
It's a tuning fork. And your happiness is not the effect of things or conditions, but more likely the cause of them.
Yes.
The poet sings, all things respond to the call of rejoicing. All things gather where life is a song. Begin your day every day in a celebration consciousness. Within you is the unborn possibility of limitless life, and yours is the joyous privilege of giving birth to it. Let the child of your great potential be born. Happy birthday. The universe is celebrating you. Celebrate yourself. Ooh.
And I'm just going to read a practical, scientific reason why this really works. It's from Emmett Fox, Around the Year with Emmett Fox, and it was from August 22nd. We may or may not have read this on the show last week, but it's worth rereading. It's called You Are Always Treating. And that's what we're doing with the thank you.
Yes.
We're bypassing the reasoning mind, and we're actually praying, utilizing the real, summed up definition that Indy came up with. Praying should be called thanking.
Yeah.
So listen to this. This is why. You are continually treating your conditions with the thoughts that you hold concerning them. What you really think about anything is your treatment of that thing. Many people have the idea that they're only treating when they're calling it treating, but no matter what you call it, your thought concerning any subject is a treatment. This is the reason visible conditions are always the expression of invisible thought. If you will begin systematically to treat every side of your life with a series of positive, correct thoughts, and keep this practice for even a few weeks, and that's why doing the general prayer of just thank you is treating all your affairs with this positive, correct idea, you will be amazed to find how much everything will change for the better. And this is without trying to coerce it.
Yeah.
And it has it's quoting Romans, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And you know what's great about the beginning of that part, the be transformed by the renewing of your mind? It says, it's the part where he says, basically, I don't buy into the world's problems.
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy into what's worrying about how to scheme. I mean, you can go look up the Bible verse for yourself, but in a metaphysical way of looking at it, I'm not going to worry about trying to scheme my way out of this or fix it or call this guy or get the right contact or how am I going to make this happen? You know, who do I got to talk to? How much do I got to pay? No, it's saying just forget about all that outside activity and just work on getting your mind into this higher altitude, this thankful spirit.
Yeah.
And all things good will then come toward you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, if you read the whole verse,
yeah,
that's the beginning, the end, and the being transformed is the middle of it.
Ah.
So it's like not buying into, I got to do this, or they said that, or I'm not qualified, or I'm too old, or I'm too young. No. Just work on your mind, and then circumstances will correspond to that.
Oh, my God.
It's such a relief, man. This is the good news.
When we get back, we'll do the mail. We'll have wonderful people, Glenn and Sarah, sitting with us in the studio. We want to thank Jeff Comfort each week. He takes us right into the comfort zone. Yes, coming up next, the Merry Thanksters, Glenn and Sarah Brewster, tune us into the good we desire with today's reading, Grateful, and a whole lot more. So thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. Oh, who is it in there?
All right, welcome back to the second half of Thank Your Way Out.
With Glenn and Sarah Brewster.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good.
Yeah? Are you enjoying the experience?
This is amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
We listen a lot to your show, so it's really amazing to be at CHOBO Studios and get to put it into visualization. So,
Absolutely.
yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, it's an honor to all that energy going out and then into you two and then bringing it back into the studio. It's really great for us as well, man.
Especially since we're so happy to have the Merry Thanksters from the Bay Area finally in our studio.
So, Sarah, you will you hand this to Sarah? Can you give us a book review? Kirky Chelson sent us a book.
Well,
send it over to Sarah.
I just want to make sure the audience sees the title.
Right.
You're really going to make sure?
Well, she's the one who spotted it. What did you note about that book?
By
the way, what's it called?
It is called Pet Goats and Pap Smears, 101 Medical Adventures to Open Your Heart and Mind from Pamela Weibel, MD. So I was a little bit confused about why Ed had this book out.
Right.
And then I heard it was a gift from Kirky, and Ed and Darrell had some interesting theories about what have made Kirky send this their way.
It was the cover. I tend to judge what we receive from Kirky is always the cover.
But I thought it looked interesting. I actually was kind of interested to read it because it sounds like she has a way of bringing some levity to some difficult healthcare situations and to make it a little lighter and brighter. So it looked interesting. I might check it out.
We didn't want to say anything, but it's our gift to you.
Well, it's the introduction's by Patch Adams.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a reputable book.
Soul Patch Adams.
But it's one of those ones where Kirky meant it as a joke, but God meant it for good.
Perfect person found it. Let me just hold up another postcard from Kirky. If you're not on YouTube, you go on YouTube, Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, and you will see all the action. He
What does
said,
it
guys,
say? Wait.
good news.
Wait, what does it say on the cover?
On the cover, it says, take pride in your achievements because your failings will be punished without mercy. This guy, and it's my head under Darrell's foot. This guy. Well, the critical voice is not your own. That's the good news. The critical voice on the front of this card is not your own. The voice of love, appreciation, and self-acceptance is fire your inner critic and reinstate your inner fan club. That's from Alan Cohen. Kirky loves you.
This is the key, folks. It's so hard to believe that this is the truth. I'm going to read it again. The critical voice is not your own. The voice of love and appreciation and self-acceptance is.
And you know why it's difficult is because, like right now, I'm excavating, letting go of my identification with a very critical voice that has kept me in positions and things that were not right for me. It was someone else over my shoulder second guessing me that I internalized as my own voice and wondered why things never worked out the way I wanted them to. But thank God now with these tools, I'm like, wee, I had to take a leap. By the way, someone else is thinking of us. It's Lois
Now,
Conklin.
all this great stuff came this week with all our thanking affirmations, including this was a big surprise from Lois Conklin.
So thank you, Lois. Thank you. Thank you, now we're satisfied. And she said, watch your thoughts, for they become words. Watch your words, for they become actions. Watch your actions, for they become habits. Watch your habits before they become character. Watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. And that was found on the Unity Facebook page. Well, thank you, Lois. She also said, just wanted to send a little note your way in hopes that it will brighten your day. Love the recent Funniest Thing broadcast. Always makes my day. Your guests are amazing. Give yourself a pat on the back. Say hello to Lois, will you?
Hey, Lois.
All right.
We're having a good time.
Blessings and love to you all, Lois Conklin. And then she gave us a nice contribution, which really, really means a lot to us because it's nice that this ministry is now, like being paid with everyone's contributions, where it's paying for itself now and it's just growing and building.
Yeah.
I had a very inspired meditation the other day in which, because I was going into a new place, I was stepping forward to where do I want to be? Where's my spirit already? And I saw an incredible amount, like myself being incredibly prosperous and us starting a Funniest Thing foundation of some sort and bringing it all over the world like we already are, but just really fully funded and really, I don't know, I was just in this state where I had started maybe my own other school as well for kids.
Yeah.
And it was so inspiring. So everyone who's participating now is part of that vision. So thank you. Michael Schoonover also sent us literature on the same day. I'm going to read one little quote, one little paragraph, and then we're going to talk some more to Glenn and Sarah. So I appreciate your patience. Relax and receive. And this is from a reading from Weekly Unity, which was an old-time Unity newsletter from, it was 10 cents a copy, from March 13th, 1960. And it says, Weekly Unity, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
Wow.
And the question was, when shall we bless? By Janitha K. Merrill. And she said, just as a small portion of this article, but it says, relax and receive. Open yourself to the glorious infilling of the divine presence. Do not drag your problems into this heavenly radiance, but continue to receive. Receive until a sense of joy and strength wells up within you. Then, when you are vibrant with this inner realization of God's presence and power, turn and bless. In the power of spirit, you can bless your problems sincerely and joyously. And as you bless from this God-given wellspring of strength and joy, you will be free with a glorious new liberty, and your words will free and uplift all others concerned in the matter.
You know what? You said something I think we should bring up that we haven't said. It's when we ask for things, like even when you said, I don't want to teach, like you said, I don't want to teach anymore. It's like we got to ask without any stress to bringing about on my
Yes.
part. Like, you got to ask. I mean, in all these, prophets, it's in the Bible, you just ask simply and sincerely, but without any sort of, any angst at all. Just, or thinking you got to ramp up the joy about it even. Just matter of fact. And for a while, I have a Louise Hay affirmation that I changed a little, that it's on a little card somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's, I do what I love and I'm well paid. I now do what I love and I'm well paid for it. So I don't turn it into like I want to emphasize, into a superstitious saying, like I have to say this all the time or it's not going to happen. I don't want to make you think that at all. But that is where this thank you, this general prayer of thank you has, in just a week's time, brought about, like you just heard, all these things have happened this week, including, I sold a painting, and on the same day I posted it.
My wife just happened to share it.
That's what I was going to say. And of course, when God works, it's always through enjoyable channels. So Jen shared it, and one of her regular customers said, I want that. And I was like, holy cow. And then I go visit Jen and bring her that. And on the way home, I get an email, because when I got to my house, I saw when the email came after I saw Jen, because that whole experience was very enjoyable, And when you have one of these experiences, my mind is going, wow, thank you, God. That's miraculous. And now that high attracts more. I get home, an email came, and it was for inviting me. They wanted to book my Create Your Best Life via journaling workshop.
Wow.
For November or December, and his favorite date was December 5th. And I said, oh yeah, let's do it. December 5th, So it was like when you start, I'm really starting to now, half of my brain go, what, you're 61 and now you're just figuring this out? But no, we're all learning and we're all growing, and it doesn't matter what you figure out when you figure it out, because whenever you figured out what you figured out, it opened up new vistas and new opportunities. So now I'm at this other layer where I thought I knew this stuff, and once again I'm going, wow. So this, that's why we're highlighting thank your way out. Number one, it'll thank me out of when my mind was in a depressive or starting to pile up things that needed to be taken care of. How are we going to pay this? What are we going to do with this? What about that? It broke me free of those things so they could fall into the divine order and everything gets done when it needs to. And the money always shows up. But on another realm, it's putting me in a general feeling of like, Jesus said, when you pray, ask and then believe as if you've already received it. Yeah. And it puts me in this general attitude without consciously straining to visualize myself already receiving specific desires, but my desires that the universe already knows are manifesting by just saying thank you in a general way.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's what my wife picked up on when I said I don't want to teach anymore. I had never said it about this subject in that lighthearted, pray with a feather kind of way. And I'm still really have to keep bringing my mind back to that. But all week when I remember, I say, I just want to feel better right now. I just want to have a good time on the show. Because God's already delivering it.
Yes.
It's not like God's waiting for me even to say that. It's just like, oh, okay, bring it in now. He's receptive to it more than anything else, So, how are you two doing with this with us today? You having listened to the show about thank you, is there anything bubbling up for you guys on the subject, Glenn?
I want to thank you guys. I heard Darrell speak a few years ago, and I Googled him after, and then I found the podcast, and I was like, man, this is so great. Like, because, all my life, like my dad, he grew up during the Depression. He's like, keep your nose to the grindstone. A fool and his money are soon parted. All these sayings, like I love my dad. I love you, Dad. But Darrell, and you Ed, open up my mind to like these possibilities I can do with my life. And I'm really excited about it, and, before when I would pray, I'd be like, don't ask for anything, self-imposed nonsense,
Right.
stuff like that. And now, I invite God into the things that my dreams. Like I'm going to retire in a couple of years. I'm working on a documentary now. And thank you, Darrell, because I never would have did this if it wasn't for Darrell.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's just
What's the documentary about?
It's about the history of Oakland and also one of the founding, fathers of Oakland, Francis Marion Smith, the 20 Borax Mule team guy. No one knows about him. He had such a huge footprint there. Incredible story. I hope I can do a good job telling it, but I wanted to thank you guys because I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for you guys. So.
That's
Wow.
incredible.
And these principles.
Wow.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
I'm so excited to hear the story.
Yeah.
Because these principles, I'm sure, show up even in his story.
life.
Talk about taking leaps of faith, right? Everything. Like, I think people back in the day were just leaps of faith were par for the course.
Yeah.
And it made, that's what I think has been lacking for me. That's why I think health and stuff starts to suffer if I'm not leaping, if I'm going for holding on to be safe instead of leaps of faith of joy, right? And service or whatever it is that inspires us. Then my actual hormone, everything starts to get imbalanced because it's not feeding off of life anymore. And so I'm excited. Just hearing you say that is another nudge for me to keep going. And how about you?
Well, I was thinking as you were talking about Emmett Fox and the Golden Key and how, the answer is not to stay focused on the problem. The answer is to just start thinking about God and stop thinking about the problem. But that's a really hard thing to do. And then I was thinking about how, thank you is one of the ways to go back to God and to find that avenue again toward back to that. And I think for me, because I've been in job situations where I haven't always been happy. And I think one of the things I found is that if I try to leave something out of fear or anger, it never quite opens as fast or the way that I want it to. But when I try to leave once I've let go and I leave because I'm being called somewhere else and I'm going towards something, then it becomes this really positive thing. So I was really enjoying when you were talking about a foundation and a school, because then that's going towards something instead of just being done with something. And for me, it's always worked better that way. And that's where the doors open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what I've been feeling, that very thing. And so I'm excited. I'm also recognizing, because I've been holding on to this thing for so long, that this all can happen quickly, that because one part of me is like, well, if I don't fight it, then I'm going to have to, how long does this mean I'm going to have to be here? And it doesn't mean that at all. Actually, when I come to my senses and realize it's just a job, really get back to that. Yesterday I was laying in bed. I'm so glad you're saying this. I really appreciate it. You're really ministering to me right now, because I was laying in bed and I've been getting, these glimpses of just freedom. In terms of it's what I really want is freedom from the angst, the worry, the self-recrimination, that type of stuff, And it was so cool because I just saw myself separate. I saw this is just this district. It's not in here. It's out there. There's and I'm here and I'm separate from it. And it was really weird. I feel like the whole thing's been living in my head as if it's me, And I'm thinking about the superintendent, this person, that person. It felt good to just put all that aside and just think about me as a separate thing from that.
Yes.
And I feel like that actually helps me to stop freaking out and panicking and fighting. I feel like I don't think in the past I realized, or I forgot how much my joy and well-being is an essential part of the equation. Another meditation that I did this week is just meditating on the fact that everything's working in my favor. First meditating to realize this nightmare is just all being generated from my own imagination. and then shifting my imagination into thank you, and everything's working out in my favor. And from there, like job offers are coming in, like a really positive, wonderful thing. That's my whole universe is centered around me. I mean, yours is. I wasn't taught that. And I don't think a lot of people are taught that. And Eric Butterworth in Celebrate Yourself talks about that. Like, we're each centers of, he's not the only one, but we're each centers of God. Like, and that is not an overstatement or hyperbole. We're each centers of God, and our job is to take care of our center, right?
Yeah. And we're always co-creating. Dugan helped me with that, because when I was in the military is when I met Dugan, and I was like, there was hairy stuff happening. Like, oh man, all this stuff's happening. How am I going to deal with this? And he just said, like, I don't even want to say forcefully, but very adamantly, he said, Darrell, all those things are happening around you, not to you. And I was like, oh, wow. And it put me in like that state you were saying. And that really helps me. Unlinks me. And all this is dancing around here. It's not happening to us. It's dancing around here. And then knowing that as my attitude shifts, my feeling nature, these things that are happening around me, not to me, either respond in a more advantageous way and more opportunities for me to do more of what I love, because that's all God wants us to be happy, and healthy. So when I correspond with these ideas and my mood elevates, then everything that's happening around me, not to me, is much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
But it's never happening to the me that is me.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I start shrinking in my thoughts, and then I start believing that, and then it's just horrible. It's like quicksand, because it just becomes self-pity. The other thing that I was thinking, like you said in the beginning when you were talking, Ed, you said, because I've been doing this for so long that I know it's going to happen quickly, meaning when I finally let go. And, Emma Curtis Hopkins, I wrote it down in here, but I could never find it in my own book with my handwriting. But in a nutshell, she said, we have to heal the idea that God takes time.
Yeah.
That's our number one problem with our thinking. That it has to be so long, or I got to go, in order to get there, it's going to take some, you're going to have to go through some hard knock. It's like, no, like your dad would say, I grew up with this. My dad was a little bit more derogatory towards me personally, in addition to those thoughts. But nonetheless, the good news is all that's not true. And that's why those thoughts feel so bad. I thought if thoughts felt bad, it meant they were valid. And it's the opposite. They feel bad because it's just like any other pain in the body. If something hurts, it means I'm doing something incorrectly, inharmonious with my physical well-being. And the same is with our thinking life.
I agree. When I'm able to see the district is separate from me, it's just, and all of that stuff. And I actually started forgiving myself for judging these people, because I don't even know them. Like, whatever I'm holding in here is not them either.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then what's crazy is I realized there's two people with the name of one of my former girlfriends. Last night I was forgiving myself, and I realized I was holding a lot of unforgiveness toward myself about what had happened with that girlfriend. It was crazy. Like, these two names, because there's three people that were like my nightmare people at this whatever, like, get involved, and like, why they're the reason. As I forgave, and I was like, bing, like, same name. Forgive yourself. I've been calling this like this dramatic sad sack that has been telling these stories. And it's I don't bring it out in front of other people very often like I used to, because I used to like to have an audience with these dramatic when I was in college. Sad sack stories. I made me a good rock singer, and now I don't want it. But I'm still releasing that propensity to tell those stories.
It's funny what you just said. This is what I wrote in my book this morning. I practice radical love and radical forgiveness and welcome a brand new experience.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy that you're saying? And then I wrote that we got this affirmation. It came through Positive Christianity website. They send us emails, right? Is that the name of it? And out of the whole block, there was this great quote that a minister used to use. And it's this: the past is a foreign country. They do things differently there. It helps you really. It's humorous, but it also, I could feel my gut unlock from my past and unlock from, it has to be done the same way. No, the past is a foreign country. They do things differently there. And it propels me forward to this new, territory, this new future that's going to be better than the past. Even if the past was incredibly good, they still do it differently there.
Like you mentioned your age. My age. I thought age was like so much of a factor, and it's not. I've seen these things where people are doing incredible things, even in their 90s and 100s. It just yeah, it's just amazing to see this.
Yeah, I'm having to fight that one off. It's been coming up lately. I don't know why. I thought I would never have this thought about age. But it's been popping up in my head a little bit lately. And I go, no, I gotta remind myself of people we know, like even Phil Pearson at 96, doing things, and
Dr. Elizabeth.
Dr. Elizabeth.
She's got to be 100 at least.
What about Nancy Norman? She's 86.
Yeah.
And these people are vitally alive. And
she just in the last year decided to do more speaking and got her clothes ready, as you guys heard.
We saw this. We read this article about this woman. She was Cuban, and she became a singer in her 90s. And she became. Do you remember the story?
I think so. Yeah, she had decided she always wanted to sing or something, and in her 90s started performing. There's so many things possible, and I think, when I look back at where I was in the past, yes, that is a foreign country. They do things different. But I didn't realize, where I was at that point. So I can imagine my 90-year-old self, if that person looked back at me today, she would think, oh, she was a baby.
I know.
So
right.
It changes your perspective if you think about it.
Yes, I love it. I seriously thought I was over the hill when I was like 23. I was like, I blew it. My whole life's over.
Dude, I thought that in 6th grade. I thought it was too late for me to join the basketball team.
What's the use? I blew it. My life's over now. All right, might as well just end it.
Yeah.
That's how I was. I was older at 23 than I am now.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think I'd make it to 23.
This is great news. We're getting younger, folks.
We are getting younger. Yeah, I agree. Same. In my 20s, way more miserable, way older, way more burdened. It's much easier now.
Yeah, don't you, when you said that, don't you think that the 90-year-old would also just be on the board with this whole thank you thing? Just say thank you for everything.
My 90-year-old self would be like, why were you worried about anything, man? If he looks back at me now, why were you even considering old age then? Yeah. That's what I'm going to be thinking at 90.
Yeah.
I go, why were you even thinking that? And then it gets even better. What if, the idea of God would be like me discovering, holy cow, you mean I didn't have to worry about a thing? All I could have done was just been joyful and all my needs would have been met. Yeah, that was the whole point. Oh, well, at least I got a few little moments of that. Yeah, you did pretty good.
Yeah. I know we talked about last week about how we make laws of limitation.
Yes.
And those are the only limits there really are. And I think I've had this law of limitation too. I'm 49 and have been like, well, it's running out, time's running out. And it's like, one of the good things that I did.
Time is running out.
One of the things I did not talk about was, I think you mentioned it, something about it, but I decided, I was talking to Darrell and I'm like unconsciously, opened up a website and was making a resume, and it was so easy to do because the website cost me like $2.99. And back in the day, when I was cheap, I would even think, should I pay $2.99? Now I'm just like, so not even thankful. Like, thank God I did it. And in like 15 minutes, I had a functional resume. And then now I've been jumping on there when I'm inspired and tweaking it and changing it. And one of the things, because I'm thinking about leaving this job, like talking about it. I started talking about it at the end of last year on the show, really, when it was Kathy sitting where you're sitting. And I was just thinking, what they're saying has got to be true for me too. My spirit was like, I got to bring this out into the light. I got to get moving here. And when I made the resume, so not everyone, there are people that say, well, how long till you can retire by the by the numbers? And I'm not that doesn't type of thinking is not my forte, or is not what has led me successfully down the roads that I've gone down. And so, and I've done my best to not think that way for me, or think I have to think that way, or think, because 6 years, that's not a little, I can tough it. For my students, I wouldn't want to tough it out for 6 years.
Even the way involved. But whenever that question is posed, they're posing it in a way as if you are in prison. Like, come on, you could stick it out for another. Because it's said in a way of, it's, I know that those are unbearable conditions. It's not like a joyful question when it's imposed. Well, that's the part that feels bad.
Yeah.
Because they're basically saying that they're unconsciously telling you what you already know, why there's a good reason why you want to move up and out.
Oh, yeah, man. I told this to a second-year teacher, and he was like, oh, man, I want to do that.
Yeah. Instead, but they're also saying at the same time, though, that, this is how life is, man. You're in prison for like 20 to 30 years, and you hate it.
Yeah.
But then you get a jackpot at the end.
Yeah. Well, the good news was when I was making my resume, when I wrote down 17 years in this district through my own eyes, I was like, dude, that's a good run. That's not like you better stay longer to do it. Like,
no, that's a lot.
That's just like, wow, you've dedicated this much. I mean, that's only one job. I've been working with kids for longer, but seeing it, and for a moment I was able to see, like, this is a good run. This is not something you better tack on this minute. Like, and I understand that thinking, but really that's lack thinking.
Yes.
That's really fear-driven lack thinking under this weird, it felt so good to just see it through eyes of spirit, I would say, which is telling me, dude, come on, you got a lot to do here. You got a lot of value. You got a lot of skills, and you got you'll do a lot more for the world being happy and inspiring than trying to fake it. Like, because I'm done with that. Like, I've done it, and now it's time to get excited about what I'm doing here. Like, fully excited and take it. I'm not waiting for 6 years. I need to pull from that account now. You know what I'm saying? And it's time to pull from that account, which is my living energy. It's not about money in the bank.
Well, it's fearful because it's saying that God's not the source, that this place is the only source, whatever it is, no matter how bad it is. It means there's no opportunity. It's also very degrading because it's also saying, you're such a schmuck, and at your age and all this other stuff, you can't expect to go anywhere else better than this.
Right.
It's really a derogatory, small-minded, and that's why it really feels bad, and it's scary because it's all based on fear. Whereas the real leap of faith is, no, God's my source. This has been a great channel for 17 years, but I know something better, and I'll be doing something better. Because when we're happy, we're more generously provided for.
That's right.
Sarah reminds me too, like, I sometimes talk about retirement. I was like, do you think I can retire in a couple of years? You think we can pull that off? And she's like, You got a golden key that.
Yes.
We got a golden key in our living room hanging up over the window.
Yeah.
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 You got a golden
Lori
key.
has to remind me too. She says, no, it's because we've always had more than enough. And I just go, you're right. We've always had
And
more than enough.
if you can honor those 17 years and say thank you, and
Yes.
I built this character during this time by doing this work, by learning from these people, by learning about myself and what I want to do and what I'm able to do, then it doesn't become like you were stuck there.
No.
It becomes part of your transformation, like that transformation
Yeah.
into the butterfly,
Yeah.
that you were transforming during all that time.
Right.
And now you're pushing up against the cocoon and
Yeah.
you're probably on your way out,
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It felt like that because as I added to the resume, like I literally built a whole district-wide lunch program.
Yes.
And because of my job, there was never, I haven't really had any supervisors who really have been, wow, this is amazing. Wow, keep doing this. It's been all self-driven, really. Everything I've done, I built programs for kids, individuals, district-wide. It's like all that stuff. It's amazing to see it and actually give myself say thank you. Because I've become something, I've done things that I still got to take inventory and realize, dude, this is who you are. You did all of this. I mean, that's not who you are, but these are some of the things you're capable of doing. And who you are is that guy who somehow just keeps creating and moving forward and has somehow been able to do this with Darrell. If anything, Darrell's been my district mentor, because we'd go and have coffee and then I go back to the district, if anything. So, it is exciting to because, especially my in-laws are still around. So there's still a little voice of parents through my wife sometimes. And it's still there's still in my head sometimes it just quantifies everything. Because my parents were all about it. Hold on to that job. I mean, literally still would say this probably, hold on to that job. It's when I want to celebrate, hold on to it. It's like, instead of, wow, this is amazing. Obviously you're doing amazing things. It's like, hold on to it so you don't lose it,
Oh, God.
And it doesn't speak at all to what motivates me or what I've been inspired by or what I've been able to accomplish or the lives I've been able to be a part of and transform. And, that's what speaks to me. And that's what's paving my way forward, is tapping into all of that. Man, I got to have you guys on the show more often. Can we have 2 little chairs in the corner where they sit all the time? How do you guys? We're rolling along, but I want to. You guys, Golden Key, like you said, how do you guys together practice these principles, and how do you think that affects you guys, your relationship?
Well, every morning we get up and do a morning routine together. We read. We've been reading some readings. We were reading Darrell's book for a while.
Will you pull that mic up a little closer? Or is just speaking to it a little bit
I should
better?
know better. Every morning we get up and do a morning routine together, and we do some readings together and meditate. Sometimes I fall back to sleep, but we meditate together, and we listen to your show together. We go on trips, we listen to you guys, and we get reminded about the Golden Key and just all these different principles that you guys talk about.
Yeah, we help remind each other.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's really useful. But I also say, I'll give Glenn credit and myself credit that we both were already leaning towards these things to begin with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to have a partner that you're doing these things with, but it's really nice to have a partner to help you remember those things.
Yes.
So, and I think it can be really simple. So if one, because you catch yourself saying something negative, right?
Yeah.
So one else will be like, the weather is terrible today or whatever, the other will go, oh, really? So we kind of razz each other a little bit about it, in a good way. And I think help remind each other of that. And then I think that becomes the framework of our relationship, that we both really value saying things like thank you and, being kind to other people. And then we have that energy in our home, and it impacts, the people that we both go out and see and interact with on a daily basis. So
We just started reading the Optimist Creed every night. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
We just started reading that before we
Yeah.
go to bed. That's the last thing we do.
Who's originally, do you know the author who's originally credited with that?
I can't remember his name
Yeah.
right now. Yeah.
Because I know
Yeah.
there was one guy in specifically wrote that for himself, and then it got adopted
Yes.
as the Optimist Creed.
I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw a documentary, and they mentioned it, and we were like, "Oh my God, that's so cool!" This woman was a Holocaust survivor, and she had it hanging above her shop, and she would read that, and like they asked her, "How do you keep optimistic?" And she's like, "I read that every day," And
You want to read a little of it, Ed?
Is
Did
it
you find it?
Christian Larson?
Yes, Christian Larson. Did you?
So is this it? It says promise yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, I'll read it right here, and then we can get the daily word as well. Promise yourself. This is called the Optimist Creed. I've never read this before. Promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind, to talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet, to make all your friends feel that there is something in them, to look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true, to think only of the best, to work only for the best, and to expect only the best, to be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own, to forget about the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future,
Wow.
to wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature you meet a smile, to give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others, to be too large to worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble.
That is good stuff. What? Okay, so now we'll just put a cherry on top with today's daily word.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Grateful. So this is Tuesday, September 26th. I lift up my heart with gratitude. Although I may not be inclined to give thanks for all things, I can practice gratitude in every situation. Gratitude elevates me. With each thankful prayer, I feel a lift of my vibration, consciousness, and circumstances. How can I ruminate or obsess while I am giving thanks? Through my grateful thoughts, I feel the light in my soul becoming clear and bright as any dark clouds of doubt or disappointment dissolve. Spiritual guidance shines through my mind and heart, making my direction sure. My grateful heart guides and moves me toward my highest and best outcomes. My path is clear, my way is sure, and I give thanks as I walk with conviction along my journey of soul evolution. First of all, then, I urge that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgivings be made for everyone. 1 Timothy 2:1.
Ah. We have a little story about the two of you.
Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Thank you both for taking the time and listening to the nudge
And this
to
is
come on the show.
We got this hot off the press because this just happened this morning.
That's right.
Really?
Well,
Yeah.
So, where am I looking over here? Glenn and Sarah were a bit late to CHOBO Studio today because they got lost. Apparently, Glenn, like many men before him, so sure he knew the way that he refused to even look up the directions or ask for help, despite Sarah's suggestions. Feeling quite proud, Glenn told Sarah.
I'm just like Moses leading us out of the desert.
Sarah smiled and replied,
Maybe if he had asked for help, it wouldn't have taken him 40 years. He didn't have a woman to ask, and he would have refused, just like you, Glenn. I understand.
Yeah.
Lori would have said the same thing.
Yeah. Well, one thing's clear about all this. We really have to take things one day at a time.
Yes,
don't
we do.
You know why?
This
is it. This is it. This is life, the one you get. So go and have a ball. This is it. This is it. Straight ahead and rest assured, you can't be sure at all. So while you're here, enjoy the view. Keep on doing what you do. So hold on tight, we'll muddle through one day at a time.
One day at a time. Visit DarrellandEd.com to
Glenn
find
and Sarah,
easy
we
links
love you.
to everything
CHOBO.
we do. And thank you for being a
Love
part of
y'all.
Funniest Thing with Darrell.
So up on your feet,
Up on your feet,
somewhere there's music playing. Don't you worry none, we'll just take it as it comes, one day at a time, one day at a time, one day at a time,
one day at a time.
one day at a time. Yeah! Woohoo!
Podcasting.
Does this mean I get to make a podcast now?
No, you can't make a podcast without understanding the phrase poop.
Poop?
It's actually a carefully organized code. PodShuttle optimizes our podcasts.
Ah, poop!
Looks like Mr. Weingarten understands poop. Here's a typical customer. I wonder how he feels about PodShuttle.
Hey, thanks to PodShuttle, I get to get these episodes out every week. They do everything behind the scenes for me. All I have to do is record and send them the audio and the video file, and they take care of the rest. Without them, this wouldn't be happening on a regular basis. And I would not be able to be consistent without PodShuttle.